Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Lens Life. I am so excited to have our guest, Sarah Lindsay, with us. Sarah, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It is my absolute pleasure, and I am so excited because this is the first of hopefully many um, TikTok connections. You and I have never met. I saw one of your videos a few months ago and was just like super inspired, and I was like, she's part of Lens Life. Like, I want to get her on. I want to speak to her and see what she is all about. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Of course, I was super excited when I got your phone call. I was like, this is so random, but I'm so stoked.
It was absolutely random, and I was surprised I got a call back. So very excited. Technology is a beautiful thing, and this was, one of the things that just really like. So the theme of Lens Life is the impact of glass. And this podcast is here to educate, motivate, and inspire people. And what I find frustrating and angering, but yet incredible, is that people with their phones and the glass on their phones are having more impact than others who are like really skilled at making videos and taking photos.
Right? It's crazy. Technology has advanced so much in the past few years. It's insane.
So one of my 2021 goals is to get Scott D. Henry on here.
Nice.
He is not a creator, but he is, and he has
Yeah,
impacted so many people's lives through TikTok and his phone. And I just think that's unbelievable.
that's amazing. Yeah.
So I got on to TikTok, and I don't know, I'm just going to talk about it because that's where you and I connected. And
Yeah.
it's just such a cool thing. Like, I got on there not with the intentions of what it has turned out to be, but I was in a place in my life where I was in a rut, just like battling things. And I didn't join it with this intention, but what it has turned into is inspiration, laughter, and just so many different things. Whether it's like these funny dog videos, or Jason Capital. I don't know if he comes up on your feed. He's like a Gary Vee type guy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
And religious, inspirational. So like, it's part of my daily routine of like getting a daily dose of smiling, seeing people like pump you up. And it's been like, just like, it's so weird to talk about it, but it's been a part of my journey.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. I joined TikTok. It was probably during quarantine when I think a lot of people had joined TikTok. Just, I thought that it was for teenagers. I thought that it was just people like dancing. And so I was like, well, like I've heard some buzz around it, so maybe I'll join it. And the same reason, like I loved like the laughter it brought me. I thought it was, super inspiring, to watch all these business owners show their achievements and things like that. And once I started posting like photography related stuff and more like educational photography stuff, I started gaining all these followers, and they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for posting this stuff. I'm a new photographer. I'm trying to learn. Like, this has been so helpful. So it kind of just like snowballed from there. And that's where we are now. I just post educational content for photographers in hopes that it helps somebody.
That's awesome. It's such a beautiful thing. It's a platform to do all sorts of things.
Right.
So the particular one that I remember you first popping up on my FYP was, I think you had set a goal for 2020 of like making 50,000 or something.
Yeah.
And you like did a lot better. And then you started dancing. And it was just so authentic. And like, I started dancing. Like, again,
Nice.
I don't know you, but I was just like, yes, like it was like, it pumps you up.
It does, right?
And also I think, like you said, during quarantine, it just helps. It's helped me feel not alone and
Yes.
connected to people. Like, sometimes I'll go on people's lives who I don't know and just be like, it's weird.
Yeah, no, it's totally agree.
Oh man. So all that said, tell us a little bit about, who you are, and your journey as becoming a photographer, and what that looked like for you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again for having me on the podcast. Totally. I'm super excited to be here. So I guess my origin story, so to speak, with photography is, when I was younger, I kind of took pictures here and there. Like I enjoyed it, but for some reason it never crossed my mind that it could be a career. My parents were always like, you go to college, you get a career, you get a degree in the career that you want, you get a career, and then you retire. And like, that's your like trajectory for life. And like entrepreneurship never, came into the conversation, nothing like that. So never really thought that photography could be a viable option for me. And my now husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, he had seen some of my photos of just like flowers and things like that, and thought they were really great. So for Christmas one year, he got me a used camera as a gift, a used DSLR. Wow. And that was my first kind of, dipping my toes into photography. I just kind of started exploring and taking pictures of everything that I could. And eventually one of my really good friends had found this wedding photography internship online at a company in Estes Park in Colorado, and was like, hey, like you should totally apply for this. And I was like, well, one, I've never like photographed a human being in my life, so I'm not sure how that's going to go. I've never, I've only attended maybe a couple weddings in my lifetime. So, again, like I'm not really qualified for this position, but I was like, you know what the hell? I'm going to apply anyway. And so I applied, I interviewed, I was upfront about them. I was like, hey, like just started, don't know, like, will you help me? And they're like, oh yeah, of course. And I guess they liked me enough to hire me on, which was crazy to me, like blew my mind. And so come to the first wedding that I was supposed to photograph. I was photographing it with the co-owner of the company. She was also the photographer.
So like a second.
Say that again.
Like a second shooter.
Yeah. So I was like a second shooter because they weren't going to like let me loose the first day. That's for sure. So it was like kind of cloudy outside, and I was like, so like what are your settings typically? Because as a new photographer, I had absolutely no idea. Right. And she was like, oh, I just shoot in like auto mode. And I was like, come again? What? Like, wow. You shoot in auto mode? You're like a professional photographer? Like it was always my idea of professional photographers that they would shoot in manual mode, and they like knew all of this stuff. So I was quite shocked. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because then I basically taught myself, and I took the internship as an opportunity to learn everything I could and to make the mistakes, not in my own business, but with that internship and posing and lighting and how to deal with clients and settings on your camera and aperture and ISO and whatever, shutter speed, all of that stuff. So I took it as an opportunity to learn and to teach myself. And then from there, I kind of quit that internship, started my business, started doing weddings, hated weddings, figured it out. So then I kind of bounced back and forth to a couple different things, and then ultimately settled on high school senior girl portraits. And that's where I am right now. That's what I specialize in.
Nice. So that's your niche. You did some exploring, and that's what you love.
Yeah, it's what I love.
That's awesome. So I've talked to, several people so far, and one theme that I've heard is, interning or doing an apprenticeship or having a mentor is such a huge thing. Even though it sounds like yours wasn't really the best, it still kind of maybe opened your mind. It showed you maybe the good and the bad, and allowed you to make your own conclusions from that.
Yeah.
So maybe that plays into kind of your role now, is that you're an actual good mentor for.
Yeah. I think that, after the internship, when I was really trying to get my business off the ground, I asked for help from other professional photographers, and like got the cold shoulder, or they didn't respond at all, or they were really mean about it. And so I made a promise to myself that when I was in their position, that I would give back to the other photographers, because it sucks. Like, you don't know what you're doing. All you're asking for is like a little tidbit here and there, like a little bit of advice. And I think that professional photographers, for some reason, feel like they have to be gatekeepers in an odd way. Like they think they're protective over their potential clients, when in reality, there are millions upon millions of people wanting photographs, and there are plenty of clients for all of us. So there's no need to play that game, you know?
Yeah, totally agreed. Are you familiar with the website Fiverr?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where I weirdly met the guy who taught me how to do photography.
Oh, that's awesome.
So just like this really weird thing, and he has turned out to be like one of my greatest friends, and just met this guy online, and we did everything over the phone and through email 10 years ago, and we're
Wow.
still great friends till today. And meeting him changed my life.
That's fantastic.
So my goal is to do that for as many people as I can, because, just so kind and sharing everything he learned,
Mm-hmm.
and I think for potential people looking to do what I do or what you do is like attitude. And I'm sure you going to that interview for your internship, as they saw that you're nice and easy to get.
I'd like to think so.
Like you're approachable though, like you can just tell by meeting you that that's such a huge piece of the puzzle. Like,
Right.
so if you don't know, I'm a real estate photographer. That's all I do is real estate. And I've met many real estate photographers that are not kind people. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're hard to get along with, but they make a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I just wonder why. I'm what happened to you to make you so mean? It's so much easier to be nice to people than it is to be mean. So I don't know. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you can get like jaded and tired of doing the same thing, I guess, but it's inspiring for me that if I meet someone who just has a good attitude, that doesn't know anything about photography, literally, seriously, they don't have to know anything. If they have a good attitude, they're willing to learn, and they're passionate. If you're passionate and have a good attitude, you can do what I do. And I don't know if you can say the same for who,
Yeah.
people that you pick up as well.
Oh, 100%. And before my photography business, when I would hire employees to the company I would work at, I would always, kind of like the motto in my head would be like, you can teach people skills or you can teach people how to do this job, but you can't teach personality and you can't teach attitude.
Yeah.
So you need to be hiring someone based off, or, taking on a mentor or whatever. You need to be doing that based on their personality and who they are, as opposed to, the skills that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of a strange thing for me in real estate photography. In my area, there's about 6,000 agents, and right now there's about 2,000 listings. So it is slightly competitive, but like there's this one girl on a neighborhood Facebook page, and she posts all the time about doing like portrait sessions, and I don't think she's horrible. And she has like business upon business upon business. So I can't speak for you, but I feel like the demand for what you do is pretty large.
Yeah,
and there's room,
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, definitely. Because you have people with all kinds of budget ranges, right? So you can, and there's just so much room for other photographers. Like there's no need for like the whole competition, like, client hoarding, like, don't touch my clients. So.
And at the end of the day, no one's you and no one's me.
True. Yes. And that's exactly like what I tell other photographers is like, it's really hard for clients to distinguish you based solely on your photographs. So what makes you unique is you and what you bring to the table and why you want to photograph.
Yeah. The why is always such a big thing for sure. So, all right. So you had that internship and then you kind of went off on your own and did your own thing. Can you tell me a little bit about that time and some things that you did to ramp it up? Like, was it slow? Was it steady? And what were some things you did?
Yeah. It's funny. Before I niched down into high school senior girls, I felt like I I feel like I just wasn't getting a lot of clients. I wasn't getting good quality clients. And honestly, I think that has a little bit to do with pricing. And I'm such a nerd for like the psychology of pricing. I won't bore you with that, but basically like I think that once I niched down, I loved what I did. So I think that that showed through.
Yeah.
And I also raised my prices quite significantly.
Nice.
And that also helped a lot, because then people saw me as like, oh, she's charging that much. She must know what she's doing if she can charge that much. So they saw me as like an expert in my field. So I think that really helped.
Yeah. So my journey, and let me know if yours was similar, but in the beginning, even though my skill set was like pretty high, even just starting out, my confidence wasn't there. So I started out super low price, and just got higher and higher as my confidence grew and as business grew.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Totally agree. And I mean, there is something to where like your confidence grows as your skill grows, and then you raise your prices kind of based on that. But if I had to tell photographers, just starting out, I would say price yourself higher than you're comfortable with, and it'll kind of like, clients will be attracted to you. It'll kind of force you to learn faster and to develop your skills faster, and ultimately you'll be successful faster. It's kind of like a roundabout way of thinking about it.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. So Sarah Lindsay photography.com is your website.
Yes, it is.
And your photos are amazing.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, like,
you have to say that.
I'm such a sucker for depth of field and color. So do you do your own editing?
So I used to for the longest time.
Okay.
But as my business was growing, a couple things happened. One, I realized that editing was dreadful for me. I hate editing. I'm one of those photographers. I would much rather go out and like photograph and shoot and then have someone else edit for me. But also the editing takes so much time, and it's time that I could be spending finding new clients and getting more money into the business. And so actually it's probably been 2 or 3 years now that I've been outsourcing my editing, and it's been absolutely the best decision I have ever made for my business.
Agreed. I do the same thing. I don't know how to edit at all, like literally. And it's embarrassing, but I think encouraging at the same time. That I always tell people, like we just talked about, honestly, you don't need, we can teach you everything.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there that when you grow your business, like you said, you want to be out in the field shooting, building relationships, and let someone else handle that stuff, because there's only so many hours in the day. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the first lessons I learned in the beginning was trying to do everything myself. Yeah. And there's different models that you can do, but for me, that's what works the best, is just like being in the field, killing it, send everything off, and then wake up the next day and do it again.
Right. Yeah.
So you have kind of branched out into the coaching aspect. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Who's your ideal candidate? What can they expect with that program? And what's that all about?
Yeah. So super excited about mentorships. I basically, when I started posting all this educational content on TikTok, I realized that a lot of people were wanting specific help with things. And as my following is growing, I just didn't have the capacity to help each and every person in the way that they needed me to. Yeah. So, and mentorships have been something that I've wanted to do for a while. Again, I wanted to give back to photographers and help them grow their business, because I've been there. I've been in their shoes before, and it sucks sometimes. And, you need someone to help you along the way. So I started mentorships to do just that, to help photographers, whether they're just starting their business or whether they've maybe been in it a couple of years and maybe they're stuck with something. Like, I want to make their mentorship customized to them, so that way they get the most out of it. I don't want it just to be like some like course basically where, I have set lessons that everybody goes through, because people learn at different paces. People, some people already know some of these things, some people don't. So I want to, again, I want to really help them in a way that's helpful to them, not in some like cookie cutter way. So that's basically in a nutshell what the mentorships are. Typically people do it in 3-month chunks,
Okay.
which is super helpful. And if I had to say like who my like ideal mentee would be, it would be someone who is like really driven to build their business. Like, again, we can teach you the photography skills, we can teach you the business skills, but if you don't have that drive to really like build your business and to hustle, it's tough love, but you're not going to make it in this industry because there are so many photographers. You know, it's so competitive that like you just need to like stick to your guns, be driven, want to hustle every day and build that business.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So if someone is looking into that, basically just go to your website. Is that the best avenue?
Yeah. Yep, definitely. It's on my website. There's a little link that says for photographers, and that's the information's all there, as well as an application. You do need to apply to be a mentee with me. Again, I'm not taking everybody just because you do need to have that drive. And to be honest, like, I don't want you to waste your money on a mentorship if you're not going to take the things that you learn and run with them. You know, you're not going to take them and apply them to your business.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful thing. So, you know, there's so much division right now in our world, and it's crazy to think that cameras, there is quite a bunch of division as well. And that's like one of my pet peeves is like, what do you shoot with? What do you shoot with? And I love like the ones I've seen a couple photographers be like, I shot this with my phone.
Yeah.
You know, it's like so crazy that that's just like, I don't know, people get caught up in Canon and Nikon. And
it's
I heard someone talking about Olympus today. They're saying that's a big brand. I hadn't even heard of that. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
Being a player. So
nice.
It's just funny. But another one of your posts I saw was about some New Year's resolutions that you had.
Yeah.
Want to go over some of those with us?
Yeah. And I can't remember exactly which New Year's resolutions I had put in that TikTok video. But I think for me, and maybe not necessarily New Year's resolutions, but goals are extremely important in business because they keep you on track for like the long-term goals that you have. You know, like, for example, like I want to grow my business to, you know, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And it's hard as an entrepreneur because you get stuck in the day-to-day stuff and you can't, it's hard to like pull yourself back and say like, okay, I want to be here. How do I get here? When you're sucked into like the day-to-day emails and the day-to-day Facebook posts and TikTok posts and, you know, bookkeeping and stuff like that. So I think goals are extremely important for, I mean, anybody, but business owners especially.
Yeah. And I can't remember the exact stat, but it's like scientifically proven like that actually writing it down does something magical. And I've found that to be completely true.
Me too.
Just the act of writing it down and like having it in front of myself through several times in the day, throughout the day, and visible where it's like, it's there when I wake up.
Yeah.
To keep focus, you know, because it's so easy to get down, and it kind of just goes back to making sure that I'm listening to, you know, inspiring people or others, surrounded by others who are in the same field or uplifting and just doing that, you know, positive things and to tell people about it so they know what you're going after as well.
Right. Definitely. And with you, especially on the writing down stuff, I feel like I can attest to that as well and have found it to be true. You know, what was it, last year? We write down our goals every year, kind of in January for the next year. And I had written one down and I was like, I would love to make $80,000 gross revenue this year. And this was before COVID happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I was like, let's make it a crazy goal. I was like, let's make it $100,000. Let's make it 6 figures. Cause you know, if I aim high, I'll be happy if I get to 80,000. And then the pandemic hit and COVID-19 and all of that stuff. And I was like, oh man, I was like, well, I guess if I can just match my revenue from last year, I'll be happy. But I I truly believe that since I wrote down that goal, and we have our goals posted in front of our toilet, so we see it multiple times a day. You know, I truly believe that since I wrote it down and I saw it every day, like during a pandemic when things were shut down, I somehow got to $100,000 gross revenue. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind. But it's so true. I really believe that when you write stuff down and you see it every day, like subconsciously, like your brain just like works towards that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think mindset is just a huge thing. It's all about mindset. There's so many, you know, videos that like trolls are just being like, oh, it's saturated, you know, saturated and this and that. But there's no one that is, you know, does what you and I do or has the same personality. And I just believe that there's no excuses. So I know for me and for you, probably, if there's anyone out there who is looking to do what you or I do, it doesn't really matter if you don't have the equipment or the skill set, but you can do it. And I know I'm here to help, and just want to point anyone to sarahlindsayphotography.com if they want to reach out to you.
I would love that. Yeah.
And, you know, just want to thank you so much for being a part of the Lens Life and being a guest here today. Is there anything you wanted to throw in there before we sign off?
You know what? I think we about covered it. I appreciate you having me on the podcast. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. I'm
so sorry we had some major technical difficulties there. I just wanted to thank everyone for watching today, and be sure to check out sarahlindsayphotography.com, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much.